2024 was the hottest year ever recorded in all of human history. Not by little, by the largest margin scientists have ever measured. And 2025 broke that record again. Then 2026 is on track to do it once more. So the question is, why? And more importantly, what happens if this never stops? Because right now, at the current rate, the answer should terrify all of us. Today, we're going to answer both questions with real data and real science. First, the science of why our planet is heating up faster than ever before. Then, the what if. What if we never actually manage to stop this warming? This is What If, where science meets the question nobody wants to answer. Stay with us, because what you're about to learn will change how you see everything. Let's start with the basics. Earth gets its energy from the sun every single day. Sunlight hits Earth's surface. Earth absorbs it, then Earth releases it back as heat. Normally, that heat escapes back into space, and everything stays balanced perfectly. This balance has kept Earth livable for hundreds of thousands of years in history, but something changed about 200 years ago. The Industrial Revolution began in earnest. Humans started burning coal, oil, and gas at an unprecedented and massive scale. When you burn fossil fuels, you release carbon dioxide directly into the atmosphere. CO2 is what scientists call a greenhouse gas. And here's why that matters so much. CO2 in the atmosphere acts like a blanket wrapped around the entire planet Earth. It lets sunlight in, but it traps heat inside and stops it from escaping to space. The more CO2 we add, the thicker the blanket gets. The hotter Earth becomes below. Right now, our atmosphere has 50% more CO2 than it did before the Industrial Revolution, levels not seen on Earth for literally millions of years before humans came along. The result? Earth's average temperature has risen 1.5 degrees Celsius since the 1800s already. That might sound small, but 1.5 degrees changes everything about how our planet works. Now, here's something that should genuinely alarm you about what's happening right now. A brand new study published in March 2026 confirmed that warming has actually accelerated. For 40 years, from 1970 to 2010, Earth warmed at a steady 0.19 degrees Celsius per decade. But since 2010, the warming rate has jumped to 0.27 degrees Celsius per decade. That's 42% faster. And 2023, 2024, and 2025 were all far hotter than even that accelerated trend predicted. Scientists are still debating why, and that uncertainty is itself deeply concerning to all. One major reason they've identified is the reduction in air pollution, called aerosols. Wait, less pollution is making Earth hotter? Yes, and it's counterintuitive but completely true. Pollution particles actually reflect some sunlight back into space, acting as cooling agents. As we clean up our air, which is good for lungs, we accidentally remove that cooling shield. China's sulfur emissions alone dropped 40% since the mid-2000s. A significant cooling mask gone. Now, let's talk about the other main sources of CO2 that are heating up our planet today. Transportation, cars, planes, ships, accounts for about 16% of all global emissions. Electricity production, mostly burning coal, accounts for about 25% of all emissions. Agriculture, cows, rice fields, fertilizers, produces around 19% of global greenhouse gases. Industry, cement, steel, chemicals, adds another 24% on top of all of that already. And deforestation, cutting down forests, removes the one thing that absorbs CO2 naturally. Every tree cut down is both a CO2 source and the loss of a permanent CO2 absorber. The result of all these sources combined, we emit 40 billion tons of CO2 every single year. 40 billion tons. Every year. Year after year. Piling up in our atmosphere relentlessly. And here's the thing about CO2 that most people don't understand at all about the problem. CO2 doesn't disappear. It stays in the atmosphere for hundreds to thousands of years. Every single ton of CO2 ever emitted since the Industrial Revolution is still up there now. This means even if we stopped all emissions tomorrow, Earth would keep warming for decades. That's the reality of where we are right now. And now comes the what if portion of this. Welcome to part 2, the what if. What if warming continues at the current accelerated rate? Right now, policies in place globally point to a 3.1 degrees Celsius rise by end of this century. 3.1 degrees Celsius doesn't sound much different from 1.5 degrees Celsius, but the difference is almost unimaginable. Let's go through what happens step by step as temperatures continue rising above us. At one point, 5 degrees Celsius, where we almost are right now, Coral reefs lose 70 to 90% of their coverage. Extreme heat waves become 4 times more frequent than they were in pre-industrial times. 350 million more people are exposed to severe drought conditions every single year. Arctic summers become ice-free for the first time in human history at 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. But the policies we have right now put us on track for more than double that temperature rise. So let's talk about what actually happens at 2 degrees Celsius, the level scientists call the danger zone. At 2 degrees Celsius, 400 million more people face water scarcity on a permanent and ongoing basis. Crop yields, the food the world depends on, drop by up to 25% in tropical regions. 10 centimeters more sea level rise compared to 1.5 degrees Celsius, threatening 10 million more people. Insect populations, which pollinate 75% of our food crops, collapse significantly. No insects means no pollination. No pollination means no fruits, vegetables, or nuts at all. Now, let's talk about 3 degrees Celsius, which is closer to where we're actually heading right now. At 3 degrees Celsius, southern Europe becomes permanently desert-like with extreme heat and drought. Most of the Amazon rainforest, home to 10% of Earth's species, collapses and dies. This releases even more CO2 as the dead trees decompose, creating a runaway feedback loop. Scientists call this a tipping point, where the climate system takes on a life of its own. Tipping points mean warming continues on its own, even if all human emissions stop entirely. At 3 degrees Celsius, and sea levels could rise 1 meter or more by 2100, redrawing the global coastline. Jakarta, the old capital of Indonesia, would be completely submerged beneath the sea. Miami, Mumbai, Shanghai, Bangkok, large portions permanently underwater and uninhabitable. Up to 1 billion climate refugees could be displaced from their homes by 2100 from warming. Now, let's talk about something even more terrifying, the 4 degrees Celsius scenario for our planet. 4 degrees Celsius is the worst case scenario that current models project if we truly do nothing about this. At 4 degrees Celsius, large parts of the tropics and subtropics become too hot for humans to survive outside. Wet bulb temperatures, the combination of heat and humidity, exceed human survival limits. India, Pakistan, Middle East, Central Africa, potentially uninhabitable for billions of humans. The global food system, already strained, would face near total collapse at 4 degrees Celsius scenario. Fisheries collapse, croplands fail, livestock die from heat, supply chains break completely. Wars over water and food resources would become nearly inevitable at this temperature level. And here's the darkest part of the 4 degrees Celsius scenario that scientists rarely discuss publicly. Some climate scientists privately believe 4 degrees Celsius could threaten the survival of human civilization, not extinction, but the organized, cooperative society we depend on might not survive 4 degrees Celsius. But here's the crucial thing. We are not locked into the 4 degrees Celsius scenario at all yet today. In fact, the actions we take in this decade could be the most important in human history. Right now, renewable energy is growing faster than any energy source in recorded history. So let's talk about what the future could look like if we actually choose to act in time. Welcome to part 3, the good news. And yes, there actually is good news here. In 2024, 1/3 of all electricity generated worldwide came from renewable sources. Solar and wind power are now cheaper than coal in most countries around the entire world. In 2025, renewables overtook coal as the world's #1 source of electricity globally. 1 in 5 cars sold globally in 2024 was electric. That number is accelerating each year. Investment in clean energy hit record highs in the first half of 2025 globally, are up 10%. 3.4 million Americans already work in clean energy today, more than fossil fuel workers. These are not small numbers. This is a genuine energy revolution happening right now in 2026. But here's the honest truth. It's not happening fast enough to avoid serious consequences. The science says we need to cut emissions in half by 2030, in just 4 years from right now, and reach net zero emissions, meaning no more adding CO2 to atmosphere, by 2050 at the latest. That's a massive transformation of basically every single sector of the global economy: energy, transport, agriculture, industry, buildings. Everything needs to change rapidly. Is it possible? Yes. Is it guaranteed to happen? Absolutely not. That's the honest answer. The The technology exists. The economics increasingly favor clean energy. The will is the question. Now let's talk about what you can actually do, and because this question always comes up at the end. Individual action matters. But here's the important context about individual versus systemic change. The fossil fuel industry popularized the term carbon footprint, specifically to shift blame to you. In reality, just 20 companies are responsible for 35% of all global emissions since 1965. So yes, reduce your consumption, but also vote, advocate, demand systemic change from leaders. Individual choices matter most when millions of people make them simultaneously together. Now, what if we actually succeed? What if we limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius as Paris Agreement says? The world is still significantly changed, but it's a world humans can still thrive and live in. More extreme weather? Yes. Higher sea levels? Yes, but manageable, adaptable, livable still. Coral reefs survive. Major coastal cities remain above water. Crop systems stay functional. The difference between 1.5 degrees Celsius and 3 degrees Celsius is literally the difference between challenging and catastrophic. And that difference is determined entirely by decisions that humans make in the next decade. This is the most important decade in the entire history of human civilization on this planet. Not because of war, not because of technology, because of what we choose to emit or not emit. And that, honestly, is both the most terrifying and most empowering fact of our time today. Terrifying because the window to act is narrow and closing with every single passing year. Empowering because we know exactly what's causing it, and we know exactly what can stop it. We have the science, we have the technology, we have the economics on our side now. What we need now is exactly what's hardest for humans to do: act urgently on a slow-moving threat. Our brains evolved to react to immediate threats. Climate change is slow, invisible, gradual, but the data is clear, the science is unequivocal, and the choice is entirely ours to make now. The question isn't whether Earth is getting hotter. That debate is scientifically over completely. The question is how hot we let it get, and that answer belongs entirely to us, to all of us. Every fraction of a degree matters. Every ton of CO2 not emitted makes a measurable difference. And the generation alive today, your generation, will determine what world comes after you. Not the politicians, not the corporations, not the scientists. All of you watching this video, leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we'll actually make it in time to limit this? It's the most important question of our generation. We genuinely love to hear your answer, because this isn't just a thought experiment. This is the actual world all of us live in together. And the what if of this episode isn't about an alternate reality at all. It's about our reality now. What if we don't stop? We already know the answer. Science has told us very clearly what happens. The only real variable left is how much we care and what we're willing to do about it together. So what are you going to do with what you just learned in this video today? That's the question. Share this video if you think more people need to understand what's actually happening right now. Because awareness is always the first step, and the first step matters more than people realize. That's the power of what if, asking hard questions about the world we actually live in today. Next time you hear someone say climate change isn't real, you now know what the data actually says. 2024 was the hottest year ever. The science is clear. The window to act is real and still open. If this video helped you understand climate change better, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and ring the bell. We cover the biggest questions facing humanity every week. Next week, what if all the ice on Earth melted tomorrow? 70 meters of sea level rise, every coastal city on Earth underwater. That episode is coming soon. We also have a full episode on renewable energy, why it's growing so much faster than expected. Until then, keep asking the hard questions. Keep demanding real answers from real science. This is What If, and we'll see you in the next one. The planet is depending on all of us.